What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wrestling Junkies podcast. I'm Eric, Mr. Cincinnati Robinson. As always, I'm joined by the podcast dad himself, Chris Hoops. Hoops, how you doing, bud?
Fantastic. We have a huge interview today with the original final boss. Thank you, Dwayne.
Yes.
But I'm going to be quiet. Eric, do your intro. Let's get into this.
Yes, absolutely. So tonight's guest is a 19-year wrestling veteran and a 6-year veteran of TNA/Impact Wrestling. He is a member of the legendary Singh family, and this weekend can be seen at Destiny World Wrestling Zero Fear. Please welcome Champagne Raj Singh. Raj, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. You guys are very, very lucky, and your listeners, their ears are going to be pleasured tonight.
We're here for it.
I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited now. I wasn't excited before. Oh boy, let's go.
So that's the way to do it. I mean, you're well dressed, you're well prepared. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. So here at the Wrestling Junkies, we look at wrestlers. They're superheroes. They're supervillains at Clash. The one thing they all have in common is they all have an origin story. So Raj, tell us about some of your earliest memories of professional wrestling, especially being a member of a wrestling family.
Yeah, I think what you're saying it there, like being a member of a wrestling family. It's my earliest memories are wrestling. So I think I've said this before, and for those that like don't know my story or have never heard of me or don't watch the product, my dad was a wrestler. So like I grew up, and like you said, everybody has heroes, everybody has villains in their lives, and my dad was my hero. So I wanted to do what he did, and I fell in love with professional wrestling right away. Like I remember 2 years old, just setting up, just little crash pads or set up the cushions from the sofa to jump on and stuff, make my own little ring. So any toy I got, any video game I played, everything in school, it was always wrestling, wrestling, wrestling. So I knew that's what I was going to do in my life.
Nice. Well, do you remember the first wrestling action figure that you got?
Oh man, I got spoiled. I've got, the LJN figures. I got like 50 of them at once. Yeah, so I got super spoiled. I got like everybody, so I could do battle royals right off the bat.
That's awesome. Haven't we all done a battle royal? Like, come on. So we touched on a little bit wrestling family. You actually have a Sings in the Ring documentary coming out, featuring likes of cousin Jinder Mahal and Chelsea Green. Get into a little bit of that and kind of what this means to you and what can we expect from that documentary.
Well, it's still kind of surreal. We're still in the filming process. So every day on set or whatever days we're filming, I just literally shake my head and just think I was that kid playing WCW NWO Revenge as a fan, and then eventually going to be somebody that trained, became a wrestler, got to be on TV, still am on TV, following my dad's footsteps, and then it's all going to be documented and shown to the world in the eyes of I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but they got to remember that I am my own man, Champagne Singh, as you guys all know, but I am somebody's son as well. So you're going to see it from that point of view, but then you're also going to see the son looking up to his hero, who is also his father. So we're very lucky that we get to tell that story. And I think the most important part is that my dad will be getting his flowers for what he's done in his career, because being from a different culture, we have a lot of people that support us. And before, in my dad's day, there were a lot of people that hated him because of his culture. So it's very important that he gets his flowers and the world gets to see the struggles he had to deal with on and off, in and out of the ring. Sorry. And then obviously there's the ties with my cousin Jinder Mahal. Chelsea Green is featured in, but we were all together in the Canadian circuit coming up. Yeah. So that's where the relationship comes there. So it's gonna be interesting, because we got some familiar faces in the wrestling world out there that will definitely be featured, and they will bring their point of view to what it's like having Sings in the ring.
How did it all come together? Were you guys approached? Was it like an outside thing, or how did this all come together?
Well, like I said, we are very, very fortunate and lucky people. So I was at a show one day, and I met a gentleman who wanted to talk to me, and I do my best at whatever show I'm at, of course, within reason, try to speak to everybody that's there, because I remember what it was like to be snubbed as a kid, and I remember what it was like to have that feeling of a superstar come talk to me.
Yeah.
So one gentleman reached out, and he kind of mentioned, "Hey man, I'd love to do a project on you. Your dad was my favorite, and I literally just came to the show and had no idea you were his son." And then I kind of just sat there thinking like, "Oh, okay, sounds like an interesting, funny story." So I didn't really
Yeah.
know what to think of it. Shook the guy's hand, said, "Thanks, man." Sure enough, he came back a month later to the next show, and he's like, "Hey, remember me?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I do remember." So I kind of started taking it a little bit more seriously. And then it wasn't until about a couple months later. So I gave the gentleman my number, my contact info at that time. And it was about 3 to 4 months later, he came with a full on pitch as to what he wanted to show the world. And he was just obviously fascinated with my father's story from from India to Canada, creating a career in the States, living in Puerto Rico for a while, moving back to Calgary where he got to wrestle for Stampede,
Yeah.
and then have his son and his nephew go and be a tag team around Canada before climbing the ranks. And of course, Jinder being at the pinnacle of the business, and myself still trying to fight the way through. So it's been uh, it's been something that this gentleman took very seriously, and it's actually with Score G Productions and Fantasy Films. So a big shout out to them. They've been working on a lot of cool projects. They gave us the pitch, they gave us their ideas, and we were blown away. So we felt it was the right idea, right thing to do.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I mean, and especially with knowing the family's history, knowing that they came came to you with a
Mhm.
manner of respect and wanting to really glorify what your family's contributed to the wrestling business. It's a beautiful thing. Um,
Yeah.
did your dad or any other members of your family try to discourage you from getting into the wrestling business, or take us how that looks when outside looking into a wrestling family?
Yeah. No, I always had the full on support, but like my parents knew I was going to be a wrestler. I did play hockey for a long time, and
Nice.
I was there pretty seriously in hockey and climbing the ranks there. And few injuries kind of held me back. So I was like, you know, I got a few opportunities, made the wrong choice, and then that childhood dream kind of gets crushed. But I always had wrestling there as something that was on my mind, and immediately went to training like within days of quitting because my dad had connections in the business. So that
Yeah.
was it, man. I just yeah, it was yeah, it's been crazy actually.
Awesome. So, we were talking a lot about your family and your family's legacy. How
Yeah.
how is it for you to kind of create your own name in wrestling and have everybody know who Champagne Singh is?
Yeah, I think authenticity is what's going to be what sets me apart, and I'm going to obviously try my best and put my best foot forward. And you know, uh, as much as I love my family, and as much as they wish for my success, we all have our own paths, and
Mhm.
it's very important that we
Yeah.
all share that and try our best to. Like I don't want, oh, every introduction is, oh, this is the son of so and so or the cousin of this guy.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. You don't see that with movie stars. You don't see that with singers. It's just they make their own path. You enjoy them for what they are and appreciate where they came from. And I think it's just it's a little bit more hard work, but I think I'm right on the verge there of creating my own path.
No.
Uh,
Is
so
there?
so with
Oh,
oh,
go
I'm
ahead. Go
sorry,
ahead.
Eric. Go ahead. I was going to say for those who aren't super familiar, give us kind of a breakdown of like who you are, what sets you apart, why are you different? For those that may see this and go, oh, let's go check out this guy. What is it that sets you apart?
Like, I mean, I'm old school trained, right? Like I was trained by Bad News Allen and Jerry Morrow, who are well known in Canada and Western side of North America. They're big Stampede wrestling guys. And I came up the ranks. Like I used to wrestle with the T.J. Wilsons, the Apocalypse, who was Rick Victor, Jinder Mahal, of course, Harry Smith, Natalia. We came from all that range. Um, But then, people make their choices and they start doing different things, or, my path took a little bit longer to get to where I am. But I think what's going to set me apart, like I got into TNA, which was Impact at the time, as a part of a tag team / faction, which was supposed to have a few other Indian characters, which unfortunately didn't make it through. But um, being part of the AC Hit Squad and being the not I don't want to say the typical villain, but definitely being a villain that I can assure you, they hated me just because of what my music sounded like and the attire we had, right? Which it's cool. That is cool. I appreciate that. I'm not from USA, so you hear the USA chants. Um, and then I also, transitioning after getting lucky and becoming ultra rich and fancy, getting the opportunity of Champagne Sing, I get to show some diversity and get to show that I can be a dynamic character where it's not just, if somebody says, hey, there's a foreign character, there's an Indian character, there's an Arab character, they kind of stereotype it, or they kind of have that prejudgment. And I think if you say Champagne Sing and you give it a real go and just look for what the character is as opposed to what the culture is of that character, then you'll be blown away from that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that one of the matches I watched with you recently involved a friend of the show, Zicky Dice, and I think they pointed out you had several dozen Swarovski crystals on your ring gear. Tom Hannafin pointed out. But before we talk a little bit more TNA, what advice would you give to aspiring wrestlers that also come from wrestling families? Something that you wish you would have known as you were getting started.
Ooh, I mean, I grew up with like the Hart kids and stuff, so we were so well coached at a young age. But if somebody's someone's an aspiring wrestler, and if you come from a place where even you're not just a wrestling family, but a family that has a name where you will be recognized, you have to 100% ignore the comparison, because as long as you're not comparing yourself, then that's the smart thing to do. Because if the fans are comparing, or the spectators, or this promoter or that person, who cares? Because that's their own philosophy and their own mind frame. But you just have to compete with yourself, because some of our parents are special in the business, so we're not going to get there, or we're going to have to, we may not ever get there. So we got to just go one step at a time, and definitely work hard and use what our families have set as a goal. Don't compare yourself, but use it as a goal to thrive, to be better than that.
That's
well said.
Oh wow, yeah, it's very, very, very good. So Thank you. we can see that you dress amazingly. You're obviously a great wrestler.
Thank you.
You are also a very, very good talker. How are you staying sharp on the mic? Like, what's your secret? I don't give us too much, but like how do you stay sharp on the mic and continue to cut amazing promos?
I appreciate that. Thank you for the acknowledgement.
Of course.
To be honest, there is no training that I ever done. I can teach people the tips if they want to follow the Champagne Posse. They can do that. But honestly, like again, being a wrestling fan as a kid, I cut promos any day, every day of the week throughout my whole like grade school life. When I played hockey, I would score a goal. You better believe it. I was not one of those quiet guys that just kind of like shook my teammates' hands. I was like starting a dance party. Even my team was like losing like 5-0. So I kind of just, I mean, when you grow up loving the business, it just comes like a second nature to you. That all our favorite characters are the guys that had the mic in their hand at some one point or another.
Yeah.
And then you're influenced by some of your characters, their slogans, the way they talk, the cadence, and when it suits their character. You got a guy like Undertaker. He spoke like the Undertaker would or should, and Razor Ramon the same thing. So I think that goes a long way when people want to talk, like speak to your character, because that's what I do.
Yeah, makes sense.
Good. So I'm going to tell my kids when they're, getting to that age, talk trash, because then you'll sound fantastic on the mic when you get in the biz.
Perfect. 100%. Yeah, practice makes perfect. So I started at a young age.
So we again talked about the fashion. We've talked about the mic. Now we're going to talk about your finisher. If anybody hasn't seen this finisher, go check it out. How did you come up with the finisher? And then the name for the finisher, the Champagne Pop. I want to hear the story behind that as well.
Well, yeah, again, thank you for acknowledging that. A lot of hard work went into that. I always thought of moves that could be different. I mean, I guess that's one of the other things that you were asking, like what can set me apart or what may set me apart from one wrestler to another or one family member or another, is even though we are all still doing the same thing, we're all trained to do the same moves and work the same way. We got to try to be different. So, believe it or not, sometimes I'll slap on a video game or go to create the move and look to start seeing what a guy can do and see what the body can do. Or if I'm watching a match, I will pause it mid move, stop, think what else could have happened from here. And then one day I was in a ring at a local show in Calgary, and I just grabbed the guy I was working with and tried that champagne pop. So the Canadian backbreaker turned into a DDT.
If anybody hasn't seen it, please go look. Yeah. It's something brand new that I haven't seen. So it was really cool to see it for the first time.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's nobody ever kicks out of it. I'll tell you that much.
That's how you know it's a good finisher. I mean, finishers are kicked out of thousands of times. So that's how you know it's good.
Yeah.
So you've already mentioned it a little bit earlier in the interview, but how did you meet Rohit Raju, and tell us the origin story of the Desi Hit Squad?
So Rohit and Jinder Singh were already in Impact as Desi Hit Squad. So when I got there, I met them both while they were already there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I met them, but my dad was their manager at first. So like, for those that don't know, like I was going somewhere else, but then my dad is the one that was in TNA first. So we weren't actually going to ever work together. And then something happened and I became available. And next thing you know, right away I was put, of course, with my dad, who is with Rohit Raju, and then Gershinder had to part ways with the company. So instead of the faction, it became a tag team. So from there, of course, as the tag team partner, you travel together, you eat together, you lift together.
Yeah.
And then you become closer than you would with somebody that you see every couple of days, as opposed to hanging out with them literally every day. So, we're still good friends. We talk all the time, and who knows what the future has in store. But yeah, he's a very, very good dude, and that's the origins of the Desi Hit Squad. So even if we change our name to the Champagne Posse, he'll be there with me one day.
I mean, you guys crashed 1,000th episode of Impact for a reason, so I had to. I had to ask. I had to ask.
Well, you can't have a celebration without champagne. It's just, it's a no-brainer.
It's terrible. I know. It's terrible. One of my favorites. Yeah. All right, now we're gonna go to a little bit more of a sore subject. I'm sorry,
but no, of course.
Let's talk about the rivalry with Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah.
And how was that experience? What's it like to mix it up with a legend?
It's again, like those moments that I tell you I have when I'm filming on set and I'm just shaking my head like, what is life? Like I was literally in the ring thinking like, it's I don't want to say starstruck, but at the same time you have so much respect for these people because you grew up watching them, and then you're sharing the ring with them, or you're playing as them or against them in a video game, stuff like that. And then it's nerve-wracking, but at the same time comforting, because you're in safe hands with how good these people are, that the show that's going to be put on is going to be like excellent and something that the fans are going to want to have back. So I just honestly was enjoying the ride, playing my part. And he's an SOB, but it's very, very fun being in the ring with him because, with a hardcore legend like that, you get to hit a little harder, you get to slap a little harder, you get to every fall hurts more. So it's pro wrestling to me.
Nice.
I like it. I mean, especially given WrestleMania being in Philly this year, a lot of ECW nostalgia that everybody's feeling in the air this year. It's really cool to hear kind of what he's done and especially the longevity he's had in his career. I mean, the fact that it's 2024 and we're talking about Tommy Dreamer and he was a part of this TNA rebrand, which we'll get to in a little bit. I mean, it's really cool. But I do have to know this. Mostly because this interview that we did make me a little nervous at the beginning, admittedly, but I have to ask what is it like to share a locker room with Zicky Dice, friend of the show?
He is. I mean, look, like wrestling is wrestling, so the fans know that when I'm in the ring there, I'm kicking his ass and I'm gonna whoop him from pillar to post, or I'm gonna try my best to, and he's gonna do the same. But behind the scenes, Zicky is the mother effing man. He is one of the funniest human beings you'll ever meet, for sure. And Zicky and I got along behind the scenes. Again, that authenticity. When I'd see him, I just like legit see a look on his face of somebody that enjoyed being there. And I enjoyed being in his presence. When he was around, I loved it. He's a good dude, and I hope to share the locker room and the ring again with him someday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So you were there you when you originally started, you were there for Impact. And then we went through a rebrand, right? That got the fans super excited. We're back to TNA.
Mm-hmm.
We know how the fan reaction was. How was the locker room reaction when that happened?
I don't know if you've seen the video that was up on X or Instagram, but people were clapping, cheering, screaming, hugging. It was like a big celebration. And it wasn't disrespect or like the name Impact sucks. It's nothing like that. It was strictly just that everybody knows what TNA is, and like Impact never. It sort of started creating its own identity, but everybody always referred to it as TNA, and I think it's just rightfully so that that we made that move back. The rebrand has been great. It's given more buzz to not just like the wrestling world, but the fans are enjoying it a lot more. So I honestly think it was the perfect move.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just me speaking, not Eric as well. But as soon as they announced that, I bought the show. Like it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna go watch this again. Like it's one of those things where it's familiar. I remember growing up with TNA and then Impact, and then you kind of fall out of it a little bit. But now that TNA's back, like I'm watching it all the time. What exactly does this TNA mean to you though? Like what do those three letters mean to you overall?
Man, it's like how the name says, like total nonstop action. There was something different about watching TNA as a kid, as opposed to watching WWE, WWF, and WCW, or ECW for a lot of those people too. Um, it has that legacy behind it. Sure, people might try to compare it to the 50, 55 years of a bigger company or a different company, but you can't do that. I literally look at it as like, wow, this company was around for this long and they created that legacy, and now this is just going to add to it.
Nice.
Awesome. Very well said. So in addition to your time in TNA, you have a match coming up this weekend. We can get the graphic up here. So this is Destiny World Wrestling Zero Fear. You're taking on Tyler Tirva. Tell us a little bit about this promotion, about Tyler, about this match. What are you looking forward to or May, I should say. I apologize. What are you excited about this event coming up?
Well, Destiny World Wrestling, they're up in Toronto, the Toronto, Ontario area, for those people that don't know. And it is one of the major companies, I would say, in Canada to work for. One of the best indie companies for sure. They bring in lots of good names. It's a great place to work. The management's great with me. And Tyler Turva, he is a very, very good unknown talent, or, not well known, but people should know him. He's a good looking guy, jacked, he knows how to wrestle. He's going to get the taste slapped out of his mouth, but that's okay. I'm going to have, Toronto's one of the places where I get a big following where, I'm not a nice guy on TV. I'm not a good guy. but Toronto's one of those places where I'm loved, and I think I'm gonna Tyler and I are gonna put on a show because we have a good chemistry in the ring. It won't be our first time going toe to toe.
So while we're on the indies, we're a big supporter of the indies, and you should too. Everybody that's going to watch us, please go support the indies. What are a couple names that we need to keep an eye on over the next year that go, okay, this will be the next guy or girl?
Look, I don't want to sound biased because I'm only going to say people that I'm closer to or that I know that I see more regularly. So I'm not trying to be biased, but there are so many talents around the world. Like you can pop online. So if I don't say your name, don't take it personally. And if I say your name, don't get too hyped up because I'm not the guy in charge either. But for sure, like out in Western Canada, I'd have to go with Kid Chocolate Mojibari. That's he's pretty much Bret Hart's adopted son. He literally lives with, he hangs out with Bret every day.
Wow.
Bret's in the ring with him, teaching him stuff. He's in Dungeon Wrestling in Calgary, for those of you that don't know. So Kid Chocolate Mojibari stands out. We have a couple of kids out here in Calgary. They've only been around for a few years. Skip Barker, he's the prospector. He does he's like a pickaxe guy from gold miner. So he's got a very, very good character. I think it's something that's catching on. Rohan Raja, who's out east. People know him from TNA and NXT, so he's obviously great. And another kid that came up the ranks, started in Calgary, but he's out in Ontario now, London Lightning. He's only been around for about a year, and he's getting quite a bit of buzz and has done some stuff with AEW. So I think those are some names to watch out for.
Okay.
Love it. So we want to do something a little unique here to wrap this up. We're going to give you the pencil here. If you've got to book your own TNA Hall of Fame class, as far as names that aren't in it yet, give
Champagne
us 3 or 4.
That's
one of them. So give us 2 or 3 more that you think should be in that class.
We even had it on the question. It was beside.
I'll let you finish. I just wanted to mess with you there. Yeah. I'll let you finish. I just wanted to mess with you there. Sorry, brother. All right.
Yeah, that's it. Just if you've got control, you're booking a Hall of Fame class. Who's in it?
Headliner, Champagne Singh. Who are the ones behind?
Yeah. Well, Champagne has to be there for the celebration, so that's by default. Man, this is a tough one because I don't want to leave out anybody important or forget somebody important. But this is
it's okay. They can blame us if you do. It's okay. We'll take the hit.
Oh, no, it's us.
Yeah.
And like the Motor City Machine Guns, did they put them in yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, they're not in yet. They're not in yet, but they're 2 that would be and should be. They will be. Those guys are great. Being in the ring with them, watching them, they're great. Believe it or not, I was thinking about this just the other day. It's some people might call it recency bias, but Eddie Edwards, the guy he's a surefire. I mean, I don't like putting people in the Hall of Fame while they're still active.
Yeah.
But everybody I'm picking I would put Jordan Grace in there because of what she's done for the women.
Yeah.
100%.
How great she's been. And not just her, all of our women are great, but that's just the name I'm picking there. And then I also pick PCO.
Love that.
Yep.
So
because all the magnitude, sorry to cut, but
no,
because
of course.
PCO might turn around and say, oh, why him? The magnitude of the matches he's had, and he delivers every time.
Every time he's on, you got to watch. That's
yeah. So I was going to ask, what was your reaction to seeing Jordan Grace in the Royal Rumble?
I was I wasn't surprised. I was just genuinely so happy because, she works hard. So it's well deserved. And I was just genuinely happy. And I just was finally actually just even more happy for the fact that pro wrestling is getting those crossovers we deserve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great time to be a fan right now.
Mm-hmm. The best time ever.
It is. So you may know better than anybody in the world right now. And this is kind of a personal question for me. What happens when you hinder Jinder?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be dumb enough to try that, man. He's a giant. I wouldn't be dumb enough to try something like that. That's a great question, though. I'll find an answer.
I had that. I'm sorry, Eric. It wasn't on the list, but I had that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was a good one.
Where can everyone find you on socials and plug any upcoming events you have going on?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, like besides locally, local indie shows or being episodic episodes of TNA, you can find me on my Instagram or on X at True Raj Singh. Yes, it is Champagne Singh, but at True Raj Singh is better. And Sings in the Ring will be my documentary coming out on Crave. Crave in Canada and America, there's still some negotiating rights, so we'll find out soon where that's going to be. But Sings in the Ring will be the place to find me in the near future.
Love that. Well, we certainly cannot wait to check that out. Raj, thank you so much for joining us. We absolutely cannot wait to have you back on the show in the future.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Best of luck. You said I was a first contracted talent, right?
Yeah, this is you're making history here.
Everybody always remembers it first, so
you ain't wrong.
It came with champagne too. How lucky are we?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, we're just going to have you stick around for a bit, but everybody, thank you so much for enjoying this interview. Make sure to hit that QR code in the top left corner. Make sure to like, make sure to share, make sure to subscribe, turn those notifications on. If you know one person that would enjoy what we're doing over here at the Wrestling Junkies podcast, just trying to talk good wrestling and be around good, like-minded people that love this business and this sport for what it is. It's an entertainment product that's meant to be enjoyed. Have some fun with it. Let's be nice to each other. Thank you all so very much for watching. For Champagne Singh, for the podcast that of Mr. Cincinnati, this has been a special edition of the Wrestling Junkies podcast. We'll talk to you guys soon.